channel, welcome to Seen Through Glass, welcome to the start of what could be my biggest, most challenging but most exciting adventure yet. You find me at the Eurotunnel on my way to Italy because this week I'm going to be competing in the 2022 Mille Miglia Ferrari Tribute.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Listen carefully to the following safety information.
Now, just in case you've never heard of the Mille Miglia and you're wondering why I'm so excited, it's an iconic road race which took place in Italy between 1927 and 1957. It's kind of most famously won by the racing driver Stirling Moss in a Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR. Now, he completed the 1,000 miles Mille Miglia in just over 10 hours, meaning he averaged 100 miles an hour. Now that was insanely impressive in the mid-1950s, but it's still impressive today because when you see the route for the Mille Miglia, you realise it's through towns and villages and city centres as well as country roads. So achieving those kind of speeds consistently is kind of mind-blowing. I don't think I'm going to be doing that, but we'll give it a go. Now, the Mille Miglia actually got banned back in 1957, I think, because of a whole load of fatalities, but it came back in 1977 as a historic rally event which you could compete in if you had a car that was made pre-1957. Now, I admit my 360 is old, but it's not that old, so yes, I'm going to be participating in the Mille Miglia Ferrari Tribute, which runs alongside the Mille Miglia Storica. It is a competition rally. Okay, we're not going to be flat out racing, I don't think, for 3.5 days, but there's a whole load of special stages where we need to compete and maintain average speeds and hit certain markers at certain points, and we get ranked. So yeah, it's going to be 1,000 miles, fairly flat out, in a competitive nature through some of the most incredible and beautiful parts of Italy. Do you now understand why I'm so excited? Now, given how hectic I expect the next week to be, I've decided to split my Mille adventure into 3 videos, and today we are focusing on preparations for the rally, as there is lots to do before we set off from the start line in a few days' time. So my first stop was the awesome Deal and Drive in Luxembourg. Now, whilst I haven't actually competed in the Mille Miglia before, I have actually attended it. Back in 2018, I acted as a kind of support car for a team taking part in the Ferrari Tribute. It was absolutely amazing because I got to film all the cars and follow the route and access special parts of the event, and I had an incredible time. An incredible time, but an exhausting time. The days of the Mille are full on. You set off in the morning around 4 or 5 a.m. You don't get to your hotel in the evening until about 8 or 9 p.m. And this year, I'm properly participating. I'm competing, which means I'm going to have to be fully focused on driving. So I always knew it was going to be quite hard to film the event. So I've actually arranged for a couple of videographers to come along and help me document the entire rally. But to ensure that they could follow me around, even get ahead of me at times to film me coming through some of the epic scenery and just generally be independent, I knew I had to arrange a crew car, and that's where Deal and Drive come in. You might remember I visited these legends earlier in the year. They always seem to have incredible stock, and amazingly they've arranged a crew car for the camera team to use this week. And this is the car, a 2020 Audi SQ7. In my mind, this is the perfect car for the job in hand. A big old SUV will fit plenty of camera gear, and apparently the guys are bringing lots of camera gear. This generation SQ7 has a hunking great diesel engine, which should mean this car is relatively good on fuel economy, so the guys don't have to keep stopping to fill up, they can just focus on filming. The car is loaded with tech, so it should be a very nice place for the guys to live during the rally. It should be easy to maneuver, to just be in and not have to really think about. It's even got a lovely pan roof. Maybe they can fly a drone up and out of that. I'll let them be creative. But yeah, very cool car, especially in this white paint with the black pack. It's kind of Stormtrooper spec. As you can see, the team here have logoed it up with Deal and Drive logos, seen through glass logos. Once this car gets to Italy, it will also get the Mille Miglia media stickers too, ensuring the guys can access as much of the event as possible. Now, of course, it's just me today, so I'm not going to be driving this down as well as the 360. It's actually getting transported down to Milan, where Josh and Matt, my video team, will fly in and pick this thing up. I'm actually quite jealous, and I kind of get the feeling my co-driver for the event might want to spend more time in this than the 360. More on that soon. Now, it would be rude of me to come to Deal and Drive and not quickly show you around the showroom because, as I mentioned, they've always got incredible things in stock. And look behind me. Something I fell in love with a few months ago is back, and I'm still in love with it. So yes, this ultraviolet 718 GT4 I think is just the dream. I very nearly went mad and tried to buy this car last time I was here, so the fact it's now back is dangerous. I need to step away. Turbo S exclusive series also here still as well. But then let's come over to this corner because we've got a 765 LT Spider. This car finished with amethyst black paint. And whilst it's called black, if I come up with a light, you'll see it's actually an amazing sparkly purple. Very, very cool spec, and actually it's got sort of orange seat inserts as well. But I was getting distracted, yes, by this very cool 911 Speedster, the 991.2 generation. This is one of my favourite all-time cars. It's got the sort of heritage livery, so yeah, very nice to see that. Then coming back past the beastly crew car, this corner's kind of Aston corner today, and we've got two Vantage F1 Edition Roadsters. I still haven't had a go in these, and I'm really intrigued by them. I'm not certain how I feel about the wing on the back, but anyway, very cool to see two of them next to each other. And then yes, a DBS Volante. But anyway, myself and this car have a long journey ahead of us down to Italy, so whilst I could spend all day drooling over Deal and Drive stock, I actually need to crack on. Tonight I'm going to be staying in Switzerland before then dropping down into Milan tomorrow, where I'll then be reunited with this car tomorrow night. So yeah, let's get in the 360 and crack on. Well, it's the next day and you find me in the ever-incredible Switzerland. I love driving through this place. The scenery is so dramatic, and early in the morning we've got the sun just creeping over the tops of the mountains and it just looks fantastic. Last night I stayed in Lucerne, and right now I'm headed south towards Milan. Considering this video is kind of about my preparations for the Mille Miglia, I should probably tell you about the work that AV Engineering did to this car before I set off. Hopefully you saw my last big adventure in the 360 down to Tenerife. It was an epic journey, but one that kind of battered my car slightly. Got covered in salt on the ferry to Tenerife. I scraped the underside in multiple places on multiple occasions. And then on the journey back to London, which was a 21-hour, 2,000-kilometer drive, I noticed a bit of a weird oscillating noise. It was like a tick-tick-tick-tick-tick. Couldn't tell where it was coming from, but it got louder and worse as the journey went on. So I was a little bit nervous when I handed this car over to Aldous. If you don't know, Aldous and AV Engineering have maintained this car ever since I bought it. They know it better than me. They actually looked after it before I purchased it, and I wouldn't be able to do any of these big adventures with the confidence that I do them without them. They are incredible. In the grand scheme of things, the report post Tenerife wasn't that bad. There was a bill, still a significant bill, but nothing that serious. It was due a major service, which it had. We had to replace some ball joints, which is fairly common on 360s. One of the drop links, part of the suspension, had got a little bit rusted and corroded. There was a broken windscreen washer pump that had to be replaced, and then the oscillating noise turned out to be a wheel bearing that had kind of just munched itself. Apparently, the guys also couldn't work out where the noise was coming from, so they mic'd up the car, took it for a drive, and then listened back to the recordings to work out where the noise was coming from. Insane level of detail. But yeah, so a sort of strange thing to go wrong and relatively easy to fix, but a bit pricey. I think parts alone for all of that work was about $3.5 grand, which, yeah, I don't want to say I was expecting, but I was prepared for. This year is all about trying to get this car over 50,000 miles on the clock. Right now, I've just ticked over 47,000 miles, so we're doing well. But considering in the 16 years prior to me purchasing it, it had only done 24,000 miles, yeah, I'm using this car a lot more than anyone else had. And if you're driving around in a modern classic Ferrari, you've got to kind of expect for things to go wrong every now and again or need replacing. As I say, AV Engineering do a fantastic job of regularly maintaining this car and putting it in a position where I can just get in it and go on big drives. But if I didn't have them, would I have the same confidence? I'm not so sure. Well then, welcome to an incredibly hot Italy. If temperatures are going to stay this high this week, I'm in trouble. I mean, I'm already melting. I've been here for 20 minutes. Anyway, in addition to all that work that Orders did, he also fitted some new Pirelli tyres to the 360. I think the last time that car had fresh rubber was probably a couple of years ago, so it was in need of it. And I've always used Pirelli tyres for the 360 because that's what it left the factory with, and I think most of you know I'm a big fan of originality. I've actually been working with Pirelli for about 3-4 years now. They sponsored Drive the World. So I thought if I was driving past their headquarters, I might as well pop in and say hi. Because whilst my 360 is turning 20 years old this year, Pirelli are turning 150 years old. That's mad. So I dropped them a message and said, look, I'm passing through. Do you mind if I swing by and check it all out? And they were like, yeah. And actually, I've just popped inside this building behind me. It's actually their research and development department. It's called the P0 building, which I quite like. I wasn't really allowed to film any of it because it's all kind of prototype tyre stuff. But I've never found tyres so fascinating. Genuinely, I was like, I'm not really sure. It's going to be a lot to film today. It's going to be interesting, but yeah, tyres aren't always sexy, are they? But in there, it's unreal. Did you know, for example, when developing a prototype tyre, Pirelli technicians, I suppose, will hand carve tread out of the rubber. Okay, they'll use some kind of laser guided stuff and a bit of computer tech, but fundamentally to actually create that prototype tread, somebody's hand carving it. It's mad to see and kind of an amazing artistic experience. Over and above that, when they actually start testing them at speed on rolling roads and things like that, they're all in these kind of silent chambers. So you go down there expecting it to be this loud, big kind of factory, but it's not. It's dead silent. They even have a silent room that if you stayed in for longer than 40 minutes, you'd kind of go mad in because you can only hear your own thoughts and nothing else. It was genuinely a really cool experience, and that was just the start. So yes, let's continue seeing what's going on at Pirelli headquarters. Now the F1 freak inside of me is freaking out. Look at this. Those of you who watch Formula 1 will know that Pirelli do the pole position award with these kind of mini F1 tyres. And here you go, you can see Pirelli 150 years. This is going to be the pole position award for Silverstone. And they're going to hand carve out these elements. It's absolutely insane. I kind of want to steal it. Now, one part I can film today is this, the driving simulator. As you can imagine, when Pirelli are developing tyres, they need to actually see how they perform when a human gets involved. And nowadays, you don't have to bolt them to a car and send somebody out onto the roads. You can just come into here. This thing is insanely complex. They can set it up to be kind of any vehicle, any conditions, any prototype tyre. By having a human with steering inputs and loads and things like that, they can really get all the data they need before they send something on to the next stage of testing. What is super cool is I'm going to have a go. I don't think I've ever been in a simulator where you sit in a physical car in front of a screen. The team here have said that sometimes you can get a little bit nauseous, and considering my levels of seasickness, I'm a little concerned, but I'm going to give this a go. So earlier, I thought the coolest guys here were the people hand carving the prototype tyres. I've now realised the coolest people are the people who get to spend their whole day on this. I mean, this is not a job. I mean, people don't think I have a job, but this is just a game. I mean, okay, fine, there's a hugely scientific and serious component to this simulator and the results that are being taken from it, but if you're the person who has to sit here day in, day out doing this, I think you've got life pretty good, I'll be honest. I'm really hoping they don't call me to stop, because I'm having way too much fun. Forgive me as I realise it probably looks like I just stepped out of a shower, but as I mentioned, it's hot. Anyway, leaving the P0 building behind us, before we departed the R&D department, I saw a machine which tests tyres up to 500 kilometres an hour. Not only do they use it, of course, for the F1 tyres, but things like the McLaren Speedtail and tyres for my car, tyres for a Volkswagen Golf. Essentially every single new development tyre gets tested on the same rig. So I was like, does that mean Charles Leclerc's tyres and my tyres were being on there at some point? They're like, yes. So I'm a happy man. Well, speaking of Charles Leclerc and Formula One, check this out. Now we are talking a 2022 F1 show car. This is my first chance to get really up close and personal with their latest generation of Formula One car. Obviously, lots of teams used these show cars to launch, well, at least their liveries, or at least their cars for this season before unveiling the actual sort of, final versions ahead of the first Grand Prix. And this is actually, it's pretty stunning, I have to say, but I'm going to keep going backwards. It's massive. Like, this car is huge, and as someone who's been following Formula One since the late 90s, it's quite shocking to see. Obviously it also has the bigger 18-inch, new for 2022, 18-inch wheels, of course, yes, with P0s on. I say I really like this livery. Maybe some teams need to take some inspiration, bring back a sort of black and yellow-esque livery, but this is super cool to see. Way more kind of sculpted and beautiful than maybe the cars look on TV, and just chilling here in reception in front of this awesome picture of, I think that must be Kimi Räikkönen, I couldn't tell you what year, but the Ferrari at sunset. I mean, that's a pretty special sight to walk past every day. Wow, wow, wow! Genuinely, I underestimated how cool this would be. I was just popping in to say hi to some people, but Pirelli headquarters is kind of amazing. I just went to the foundation, the Fondazione Pirelli, and they've got an incredible archive with documents stretching all the way back to the late 1800s, and this incredible advertising material. I've forgotten just how many insane adverts Pirelli have made over the years. Incredible artists they've got involved, and just beautiful, beautiful imagery. Also learned that, of course, they fitted tyres to the first Peking to Paris winning car. Kind of feel like maybe that's the next adventure I need to do and get Pirelli involved. Anyway, it is baking hot in this car as it is outside, so I want to get started and get the aircon on. It is 3:15. So Josh and Matt, the camera guys, are arriving a little bit later tonight, as is my co-driver. I think most of you will know the identity of. I wonder if I could swing by the sort of accreditation area for the Mille Miglia this afternoon. I'm not actually getting accredited until tomorrow morning because you have to do it as a team. But yeah, maybe I'll try and swing by there now, see if anything's knocking around. Yep, Welcome to the Mille Miglia. Not even the Mille Miglia, just the paddock. As I mentioned, this is where people come to get accredited. This isn't even the start line or anything like that. It's just a gathering of all the cars that are going to be taking part in the actual proper Mille Miglia Storica. And then, of course, yes, the Ferrari tribute. And this is one of the cars taking part in the Ferrari tribute, an Enzo. And there's just crazy stuff lying around everywhere. TDFs, GTOs, special Ferraris. And then, yes, when we head inside to the Brixia Forum, just outside Brescia, you're going to see all the classics taking part as well. I'm not going to recognise all of them. I'm not going to be able to identify all of them because, well, there are some rogue ones. I just don't know what they are. But we're just going to walk around, let it all sink in, take it all in, and I'll try and point out a few of the cars that at least stand out to me. I mean, I've been had. I've been completely had. Oh, I knew there was another 360 on the rally. I didn't know it was a challenge Stradale. Oh my God, red with the Stradale. Oh, this is fantastic. And potentially my main rival for the next few days. What a thing, what a glorious thing. Well done, sir. I must be the worst attendant of the Mille Miglia paddock ever. Inside, incredible classic cars. I found myself outside looking at this Alfa Romeo Tonale, obviously their new kind of, I guess you'd call it an Evoque rival, the kind of baby SUV from Alfa. My first time seeing it, it's pretty good looking actually. In some angles it's a bit awkward. I think it looks better in red, but it's still got a lot of the Alfa design language which I like. I'm going to give it a 6 or 7 out of 10 on looks alone. I didn't think I could get any more excited than I already was for this week, but walking around this paddock, oh my God, I'm a bag of nervous, excited energy. Anyway, it's time now to go find the rest of the crew. Oh no! Oh no! Excited to be here, mate?
Don't know yet.
It's the gang! The gang are here!
How are you, buddy? All good? Hey there, man. All right.